Man is by nature a social animal. An individual who is unsocial naturally and not accidentally is either beneath our notice or more than human. Society is something that precedes the individual. Anyone who either cannot lead the common life or is so self-sufficient as not to need to, and therefore does not partake of society, is either a beast or a god. Man is by nature a political animal. It is of the nature of desire not to be satisfied, and most men live only for the gratification of it. Yes, the truth is that men's ambition and their desire to make money are among the most frequent causes of deliberate acts of injustice. For man, when perfected, is the best of animals, but, when separated from law and justice, he is the worst of all, since armed injustice is the more dangerous, and he is equipped at birth with the arms of intelligence and with moral qualities which he may use for the worst ends. Wherefore, if he have not virtue, he is the most unholy and the most savage of animals, and the most full of lust and gluttony. But justice is the bond of men in states, and the administration of justice, which is the determination of what is just, is the principle of order in political society. The greater the number of owners, the less the respect for common property. People are much more careful of their personal possessions than of those owned communally. They exercise care over common property only insofar as they are personally affected. When states are democratically governed according to law, there are no demagogues, and the best citizens are securely in the saddle, but where the laws are not sovereign, there you find demagogues. The people become a monarch. Such people, in its role as a monarch, not being controlled by law, aims at sole power and becomes like a master. Governments, which have a regard to the common interest, are constituted in accordance with strict principles of justice, and are therefore true forms, but those which regard only the interest of the rulers are all defective and perverted forms, for they are despotic, whereas a state is a community of freemen. Man is a political animal. A man who lives alone is either a beast or a god. Inequality is everywhere at the bottom of faction, for in general faction arises from men striving for what is equal. The government is everywhere sovereign in the state, and the constitution is in fact the government. The idea of a king is to be a protector of the rich against unjust treatment, of the people against insult and oppression. Whereas a tyrant, as has often been repeated, has no regard to any public interest, except as conducive to his private ends. His aim is pleasure, the aim of a king, honor. Wherefore also in their desires they differ. The tyrant is desirous of riches, the king, of what brings honor. And the guards of a king are citizens, but of a tyrant mercenaries. The best man, then, must legislate, and laws must be passed, but these laws will have no authority when they miss the mark, though in all other cases retaining their authority. But when the law cannot determine a point at all, or not well, should the one best man or should all decide? According to our present practice, assemblies meet, sit in judgment, deliberate, and decide, and their judgments and relate to individual cases. Now any member of the assembly, taken separately, is certainly inferior to the wise man. But the state is made up of many individuals. And as a feast to which all the guests contribute is better than a banquet furnished by a single man, so a multitude is a better judge of many things than any individual. It is all wrong that a person who is going to be deemed worthy of the office should himself solicit it, for no one who is not ambitious would ask to hold office. Hence it is evident that the state is a creation of nature, and that man is by nature a political animal. And he who by nature and not by mere accident is without a state, is either a bad man or above humanity. He is like the tribeless, lawless, heartless one, whom Homer denounces the natural outcast is forthwith a lover of war. He may be compared to an isolated piece at draughts. But justice is the bond of men in states, for the administration of justice, which is the determination of what is just, is the principle of order in political society. For nobility is excellence of race. The deficiencies of nature are what art and education seek to fill up. One should not study what is best, but also what is possible, and similarly what is easier and more attainable by all. But to be constantly asking what is the use of it, is unbecoming to those of broad vision and unworthy of free men. One who asks the law to rule, therefore, is held to be asking God and intellect alone to rule, while one who asks man adds the beast. Desire is a thing of this sort, and spiritedness perverts rulers and the best men. Hence law is intellect without appetite. The first principle of all action is leisure. He who is a citizen in a democracy will often not be a citizen in an oligarchy. Poverty is the parent of revolution and crime. In poverty and other misfortunes of life, true friends are a sure refuge. The young they keep out of mischief, to the old they are a comfort and aid in their weakness, and those in the prime of life they incite to noble deeds. The real difference between democracy and oligarchy is poverty and wealth. Wherever men rule by reason of their wealth, whether they be few or many, that is an oligarchy, and where the poor rule, that is a democracy. In poverty and other misfortunes of life, true friends are a sure refuge. To die, and thus avoid poverty or love, or anything painful, is not the part of a brave man, but rather of a coward, for it is cowardice to avoid trouble, and the suicide does not undergo death because it is honorable, but in order to avoid evil. Neglect of an effective birth control policy is a never-failing source of poverty which, in turn, is the parent of revolution and crime. To die in order to avoid the pains of poverty, love, or anything that is disagreeable, is not the part of a brave man, but of a coward. To leave the number of births unrestricted, as is done in most states, inevitably causes poverty among the citizens, and poverty produces crime and faction. A good man may make the best even of poverty and disease, and the other ills of life, but he can only attain happiness under the opposite conditions. Aristotle. For as the interposition of a rivulet, however small, will occasion the line of the phalanx to fluctuate, so any trifling disagreement will be the cause of seditions, but they will not so soon flow from anything else as from the disagreement between virtue and vice, and next to that between poverty and riches. The true friend of the people should see that they be not too poor, for extreme poverty lowers the character of the democracy. Take the case of just actions. Just punishments and chastisements do indeed spring from a good principle, but they are good only because we cannot do without them. It would be better that neither individuals nor states should need anything of the sort, but actions which aim at honor and advantage are absolutely the best. The conditional action is only the choice of a lesser evil, whereas these are the foundation and creation of good. A good man may make the best even of poverty and disease, and the other ills of life. Bravery is a mean state concerned with things that inspire confidence and with things fearful, and leading us to choose danger and to face it, either because to do so is noble, or because not to do so is base. But to court death as an escape from poverty, or from love, or from some grievous pain, is no proof of bravery, but rather of cowardice. One would have thought that it was even more necessary to limit population than property, and that the limit should be fixed by calculating the chances of mortality in the children, and of sterility in married persons. The neglect of this subject, which in existing states is so common, is a never-failing cause of poverty among the citizens, and poverty is the parent of revolution and crime. Between husband and wife friendship seems to exist by nature, for man is naturally disposed to pairing. A proper wife should be as obedient as a slave. The female is a female by virtue of a certain lack of qualities, a natural defectiveness. As to adultery, let it be held disgraceful, in general, for any man or woman to be found in any way unfaithful when they are married, and called husband and wife. If during the time of bearing children anything of the sort occur, let the guilty person be punished with a loss of privileges in proportion to the offense. To love someone is to identify with them. It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. Educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. The roots of education are bitter, but the fruit is sweet. You will never do anything in the world without courage. It is the greatest quality of the mind next to honor. The most important relationship we can all have is the one you have with yourself, the most important journey you can take is one of self-discovery. To know yourself, you must spend time with yourself, you must not be afraid to be alone. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. What is the essence of life? To serve others and to do good. Happiness is the settling of the soul into its most appropriate spot. True happiness flows from the possession of wisdom and virtue and not from the possession of external goods.